Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I'm Andy Holloway, joined by Jason Moore.
Hello.
Mike Wright.
This is the place where your dreams come true.
You know, my dreams have not been coming true today, I'll tell you that. I've had a hot wings and chocolate cake kind of morning.
Uh-oh. Oh, you're paying the iron price?
Yeah.
Was that what you fell into after the Dion Lewis news broke?
I feel like my team's name should be Hot Wings and Chocolate Cake because it looked like Hot Wings and Chocolate Cake looks, but then you wake up in the morning. You wake up in the morning and Dion Lewis is on IR, Arian Foster's on IR, and now you're sitting there and you're going, because I had some time to myself this morning.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going, all right, do I want to play Marvin Jones or Kamar Aiken or Nate Washington or sign Theo Riddick?
These are real problems, man. These are the problems that the people have out there.
And it just to make matters worse, I have to take Lewis out of my flex, and then Julio's on bye. So I got to start two of them.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Kamar Aiken. You guys got any hot tips for me on Kamar Aiken? Is he a superstar in hiding?
Well, lucky for you, Kamar Aiken plays the Jacksonville Jaguars today.
So
Or not today.
This week.
This week.
All right, well, we've got a show that will not simply focus on hot wings and chocolate cake, thank goodness, because if I think about that again,
That's tomorrow.
You guys will be hosting. We got the news and notes for today. We'll get you caught up on the injury news. You heard us say Dion Lewis torn ACL out for the season. We got our waiver wire show today, so we are going to deal with the tough questions like those. So, and we're going to do our streamers. Our full stream ahead section today. We'll tell you a quarterbacks we like in week number 10 now. Are we in week 10?
We are.
Crazy, double digits.
What? All right. Well, if you want to get a hold of the show, check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can visit us on YouTube. We're on the Fantasy Sports Network. The website is thefantasyfootballers.com, and we are on Patreon at jointhefoot.com. And let me ask you a quick question, guys. With 17-plus fantasy points in 5 consecutive weeks, Jay Cutler has been doing it and doing it very consistently. Is he an every week start?
I thought you were going to start quoting LL Cool J.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
He's been doing it and doing it well.
Yeah.
Jay Cuddy. Bubbles. I've thought about this. Maybe we should start calling him Bubbles.
Bubbles.
His personality is so sparkly and
Yeah.
light. Jay Cutler, man, he's getting it done. Like you said, the 5 weeks in a row of giving you very solid quarterback production. Unfortunately, the next 2 weeks for Jay Cutler, Jay Bubbies, is St. Louis and then Denver, which are not the best matchups in the world. However, so let's say you bypass him on those next 2 weeks. His fantasy playoff schedule is hot wings and chocolate cakes.
Okay. Wait, for a Cutler, that makes sense because then he would throw an interception.
I'll just say it's very good.
It looks good.
See, I have it on good authority that Jay Cutler, under the bleachers, broke off his friendship with Matthew Stafford. And so those two have gone their separate ways. And Jay Cutler said, hey, I'm gonna try to play good at quarterback. And I'm going to stay calm in the pocket. And I'm not going to force the issue too much.
Throw it to the tall guy who wears number 17.
Yeah, they used to have a competition of who can sling it more, who can throw it farther every game. And now he said, I got to go play football now, real football.
What's funny is he actually reminds me of Matthew Stafford from a couple years ago because he's got one target to rule them all.
Well, the one target, really, I mean, as soon as Verrett went down for San Diego, that's when it was just the all-you-can-eat buffet was open for Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And that touchdown pass to Zach Miller, that ball was going at least 85 miles per hour, at least.
You timed it.
It almost went back in time.
It wasn't quite there.
No.
All right, so Jay Cutler is
he's
if
a
you're
great
a streamer. Yeah,
Yep.
If you're a streaming guy and you need to set up for the playoffs, he's an option for you, right?
Yeah, so his playoff schedule, Week 14, home against Washington. Week 15 on the road against Minnesota. Week 16 on the road against Tampa Bay. So I mean that it's hard to beat that.
I agree. And you were making the point that they're still kind of they're 3-5. They're in the mix where they're not completely out of
small room for small margin for error. And
Right.
this was we were having a discussion about Langford, who was fantastic. Of what do we think the Bears are going to do moving forward if Forte was to come back in not next week but the following. And I think Forte slides right back in. I think Langford completely becomes a backup again as long as they're still winning. If they start losing, they might try and see what they have in Langford, but it's hard to know.
All right, before we get into the news and notes, we like to take a second every week and go ahead and read a review from the listeners. We appreciate your reviews on iTunes, on Stitcher, on wherever you're listening. And so we're going to go ahead and read one of those now. That was not a normal sentence.
Review-A-Saurus-Rex.
The thought was not completed.
The thought was not completed, but the button was pushed. So. Go
this-
ahead, Jason.
This one comes in from JerFK.
That's
It's
Jerfk.
Jerfk. This says it's the best. He writes, "Do you want to win in life? Do you play fantasy football? Do you like it when your friends are scrambling, putting together uneducated lineups in futile attempts to beat you?
Yes.
If you answered yes to any of the above, then you better listen to this podcast every single day. Then get ready to run through the air towards your fantasy football championship. That's right. I guarantee you will be unstoppable after absorbing the pearls of wisdom that these guys drop. It's a promise." Also, shout out to Chris Meany from the Daily Dose on Fridays. He's helped me cash in daily.
Ba-boom.
Dollars.
Guarantees are not actually 100% guaranteed.
Thank you for
That's the
fine
legal
print.
disclaimer.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for the review. That one comes in from Canada as well.
Oh, bonjour.
Let's get into the news. I'm going to try to do every intro as though it's a mid-sentence.
Before we get
Let's get into the news and notes and...
News and notes from around the league.
Before we get into the news, we have to talk about what happened at the beginning of last night's game.
The Kadeem Carey?
John Fox.
No, I've seen this before. I expected it.
But expecting one thing and something being stupid are two completely separate issues.
I agree with you.
Kadeem Carey has been a healthy scratch for about 4 weeks in a row. And then you start the game with him? What are you doing?
Kadeem Carey is a veteran, Mike.
Yeah.
He deserves the first shot as long as he's not an inactive scratch.
And then we saw him on the blitz pickup. Whoops. Jay Cutler strip sacked. It's just, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was almost as though John Fox is following people on Twitter and realizing that he could just set people ablaze.
Trolling people
Full-
is all he was doing.
There was
Check
full
this
tilt.
out, guys.
Full tilt on Twitter if you were on. It was very enjoyable.
Well, Langford panned out.
Yeah, he did. Come on, man.
And he panned out in the receiving game.
That layout catch?
Beautiful.
My goodness.
All right, news and notes. Let's talk about it. Dion Lewis out with the torn left ACL, done for the season. What would you do if you were me, guys? And that was a ridiculous sound effect.
Thank you.
That was the sound of
His knee
Honestly,
popping. What would I do if I
I'm
were you?
not happy with you. Let me put it that way.
If I were you, Andy, I would phone it in and play for next year. In that specific league, that's
All
what
right,
I would do.
how about if you were somebody who had Dion Lewis and you were looking for the Patriot solution?
I still think it's James White. We saw Brandon Bolden come in, and that's because White was a scratch, and that's because White does not play on special teams like Brandon Bolden does. Brandon Bolden is a Swiss Army knife of a player who can kind of do everything. But I'm gonna go back to the game where they had time to plan and prepare for no Dion Lewis, and it was the James White show.
It was Danny Amendola show as
Yes,
well.
but if you're looking for a running back slot, unfortunately, we cannot put Amendola in the running back position yet.
Yeah,
Someone
they might want to move Tavon Austin there.
Yeah, he got enough carries.
6 carries for Austin this week.
Yeah.
All right,
Moving
Teddy
on.
Bridgewater. What's the latest?
The Vikings expect him to be cleared for Sunday's game against the Raiders, which would be great news for Stephon Diggs.
In other concussion news, too, I wanted to let people know Latavius Murray is trending in the right direction, not the wrong one. We don't know if he'll be active or not, but he was through some of the concussion protocol. So if you're counting on Latavius Murray, I'm expecting him to be back, but we'll see.
When he
It's
was
early.
Did he miss a game last year after that concussion?
Yes, he did.
Good.
Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick could have surgery on Friday. Now, this is where the Thursday night game actually really
Helps.
benefits the Jets because he gets to play and have an extended recovery, and they're not planning on him missing any games, are they, Jay?
No, this was an expected move. We knew this last week that the Friday after this game was when they were going to have the surgery, give him the most time to recover, and he should be able to play through that even with the surgically repaired left hand.
All right, Nick Mangold re-injured his neck. He's optimistic he'll play on Thursday. I don't know how he could be considering he missed time with this injury before and now he has a short week. How do I counter jinx Nick Mangold into playing so that Chris Ivory can do well? What's the trick?
I think the only trick is that you
Do I declare him out?
sit Chris Ivory on your bench
Once again,
for your game.
Not going to do that
this week.
Not going to do that. I am 5-4, by the way, in the league that I was 1-4 in. I'm 5-4, and I'm coming for Jason.
I'm waiting. I'll be waiting at top.
Yeah, I'll make my move in the playoffs. Bills coach Rex Ryan considers LaShawn McCoy day to day. Do we expect him to play on Thursday?
NFL Network's Albert Breer. I'm having a very difficult time speaking today.
Right, yeah. Today? Huh?
Yeah, just today. Only today. Breer reports Shady McCoy is dealing with a shoulder strain. Just a shoulder strain. So you have to monitor his practice situation. They have the Thursday night game. Really only one practice. So if he cannot practice, that's probably not a good sign for Thursday.
And check this out. I got an interesting stat that I saw this morning. Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, the Allen twins, first teammates to gain 600 receiving yards and score 6 touchdowns each in the first 8 games of this season since 2007.
And do you know who the other 2 wide receivers were?
Back then?
Yes.
Wes
Welker and Randy Moss?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Those guys stunk.
Yeah, I mean that's incredibly impressive because the distribution across both guys has been very high. I mean, both have been great.
Blake Bortles is the next Tom Brady.
Say a good thing the Jaguars record matches
bold.
what the Patriots when they were doing that. It's pretty.
Not so much. Not so much.
But this weekend, man, Blake Bortles.
You're all about it?
Delightful.
Yeah. So okay. We'll get into the waiver wire here in a second, unless you guys have any other news. Malcolm Floyd got hurt last night.
Yeah.
He gets hurt a lot.
Yes,
I don't know if it's his just style of play, going deep, big plays, but he gets hurt a ton.
Well, I had mentioned to you guys that I don't know when the San Diego Chargers hired Arian Foster's brother to be the trainer for the team.
That's so funny to me.
But there is a plague in San Diego right now, and it stinks.
Yeah, there are some hurt players. Stevie and Antonio Gates will continue to get piles of targets.
Yes.
And as will Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, Stevie Johnson had 7 for 68 yesterday. Great option in a PPR.
And he got
Gates
tripped
had
up.
9, didn't he?
Well, Gates had a touchdown taken away, and that opportunity was only there because Stevie Johnson kind of got shoelace tackled as he was about to run in for a score. So before we get into our waiver wire section today, we would like to thank our sponsor, FanDuel. FanDuel.com, the leader in one-week fantasy football. The money is real. They're expecting to pay out $2 billion this year. I hope you had Jeremy Langford rolling out. Hope you listened to Andy's start of the week and threw Langford out there.
Actually, someone did email me and say they won with Delaney Walker.
Hey, Walker was great as well. And building a team is easy. You just pick your players, stay under the salary cap, sit back, watch your team score some points, man. Entry fees start at just $1. Anyone can play. And hey, we're a football show, but we like all sports here. And the NBA is here too. Play some NBA, FanDuel. That's good stuff. So this is what we need.
I'll take Steph Curry, please. One order of Steph Curry.
So this is what we need the Foot Clan to do. We need you to go to FanDuel.com. You click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner. You use our code BALLERS.
Ballers.
And there's a special offer for new users. For every $1 you deposit, FanDuel will match it with up to $200 that gets earned as you play. That's a bonus of up to $200. Don't forget to use our promo code BALLERS.
Ballers.
FanDuel.com, where it can finally pay to be a fan. That's FanDuel.com. Sign up today.
We'd also like to thank our other sponsor, Harry's. Harry's is the official partner of the Movember Foundation. It is Movember. If you don't know what Movember is, people, it is where you grow a mustache on November. And so if you... Yeah,
right on top of the month.
Right on top of the month. You grow that mustache. You shave around it. And you want to know how to shave around it? You go to harrys.com. And Harry's, I've used it. Andy's used it. Mike's wife has used it for her legs.
That's truth.
The razors are the best quality razors I have ever used. The guys that own the company bought a factory in Germany because they like the razors so much, and they are very affordable. You don't have to spend out of the nose. In fact, for our listeners, there is a $10 pack that you can get, a $10 starter kit where you get 3 razors, you get shave cream, you get the handle. It is a great deal. And guess how much you have to pay for shipping?
$10.
$0.
Whoa.
So seriously, if you shave, here's what you need to do. You need to go to harrys.com, enter our promo code footballers. And as a special offer, Harry's will give you $5 off your first offer. Shipping is free. That's harrys.com, HARRYS.com. Enter code footballers.
All right, we're going to get into the waiver wire segment. Right now, I will say this. Do you know how I ended up with hot wings and cake?
I have no idea.
I got the invite to go to some Buffalo Wild Wings and watch some Monday Night Football, but I knew that this was going to be a long shot because that's right in that put the kids to bed section of the night. My son had a soccer practice, and so I approached this issue the way that you sometimes have to in a marriage, with a good old-fashioned bribe.
Yep.
I just started approaching it from the bribery standpoint, and we came to an arrangement, and I was able to go out and then destroy my body. So, all right, let's move on to the waivers.
Put me in, coach.
I bribed her to let me destroy myself.
Oh, that's
what
well
I
done.
did. Yeah. All right, waivers. Let's talk wide receivers. Generally, depending on the leagues you're in, I mean, the leagues that we are in, wide receiver is the place you're going to get the most value in the waiver wire at this point in the season, because for running backs to really ascend at this point, you're talking injury and then buying those guys off of injury. There are some guys that we like, and we're going to go through them. However, let's start with the wide receivers. Now, we saw good things from Devanta Adams this week.
Finally.
Yeah, well,
Finally.
He's healthy.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah, well, the first couple game, he was healthy, and I don't know.
Would you rather have Devanta Adams or James Jones rest of the season?
Devanta Adams.
Adams just because of targets.
So he was 7 for 93. If he's available in your waiver wire, you go grab him.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are guys, so him and Lafell had 5 for 102. Those are two guys that if they're on your waiver wire, they're must adds. What I like to do in this situation is sometimes you have a roster that has some depth at wide receiver, and you go, well, I can't go get these guys. Well, yeah, you might be able to. Pair a couple of your players, your wide receivers together, trade them away, and then just restock.
Yep.
If these type of guys are on your waiver wire, go trade somebody. Go trade Marvin Jones.
A lot of leagues, trade deadline is coming, and people want to make moves this time of year. So, yeah, 2-for-1, even a 3-for-1 trade so that you can get a stud starter, and then you just restock.
Now, Kamar Aiken was 6 for 62 in his last matchup. He no longer has Steve Smith there on the other side. So he's kind of it's hard to call him a 1, isn't it?
Nope.
He's the 1.
He is the 1.
So you expect him to
like
lead?
Jet Li.
Let me ask you
He's
this:
the
do you
one.
expect him to lead the team in targets?
I do.
100%.
Okay, so Kamar Aiken, if he's there, grab him and start him this week.
Yes, this week against Jacksonville, like we said, great matchup. So
Okay.
I would plug him right in.
Okay, and he might be forgotten about in your league because he was on bye. So Michael Floyd is another guy that was on bye.
He's heating up.
Yes. Was that NBA Jam?
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 for 106 and a touchdown in his last game. He does have Seattle this week.
And John Brown should be back healthy. So,
But they play 3 wide, and Floyd is finally healthy and really getting it going. So I don't mind playing anybody from the Cardinals. Even this week, I know it's a bad matchup in Seattle. Maybe I'm being homer biased, but I feel like the Cardinals offense right now, nobody can really stop them. You can slow them down a little bit, but you can't stop that team for an entire game.
Pop quiz for Jason.
okay.
Top 3 quarterback touchdown numbers. Who's the top 3 quarterbacks with in terms of touchdowns.
Tom Brady,
Yes.
Carson Palmer.
Yeah. Wow.
Am
Yes.
I right? And, man, that Drew Brees number really throws things off. That 7-touchdown game. I'm going to go.
That is a terrible noise.
Yeah, that's not a thinking noise, buddy.
And I'll go.
I'm gonna have a lozenge, and then I'm gonna think about this third one.
I'm going to throw Drew Brees out there.
Derek Carr.
Oof.
Oh,
Should have known.
I'm kind of cheating to choose Derek Carr because it's actually Carr, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, and Eli Manning all tied at 19.
Sweet.
However, that's impressive for Carr because he had 19 touchdowns. How many interceptions do you think Carr has?
4?
5?
4.
Oh man, the car.
Jason was apparently staring at a stat sheet before we started.
He's not.
So I said all that because Palmer, even with the bye week, is number 2 in the league in touchdowns. So to speak to Mike's point, there's even if the yardage numbers for Palmer aren't there, he's a big guy. Floyd's targeted a ton in the red zone. So, all right, talk to me about Nate Washington because he's flashed. He's come back. He's played 2 good games. I don't know much. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't.
First off, he's nasty.
Nasty Nate.
Because he's nasty Nate.
One game without Cecil Shorts.
Right, and I think Shorts is scheduled to be back this week, so that can hamper the value of Nate Washington. However, I mean, Washington has been getting a ton of targets, and not every pass can go to Hopkins. Almost every pass can go to him, but not every single one. And that team just they can't run in Houston.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. For me, I wouldn't start Nate Washington this week, but I'd pick him up because of Cecil Shorts. Nate Washington benefited from him going out big time. And so now the question is, Cecil's back, but does Cecil come in and take that number 2 spot away from Nasty Nate, or does Nasty Nate keep it? And we don't know yet. The reports out of Houston, we just don't know. So we got to watch that game. If you want to stash Nate Washington in hopes that he keeps that number 2 spot, then I think he'll be a playable option rest of season.
Okay. Yeah, because Shorts did miss both of the last 2 games.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about a couple of rookies that are on my radar, being a Dion Lewis and Arian Foster widow. Dorial Green-Beckham, Devin Funchess. Green-Beckham had 5 for 77. He actually got his fantasy production without a 1 for 12-yard touchdown. Interesting because of a couple of things. One, Kendall Wright was out. That's number one. So monitor his health. I actually think Kendall Wright's going to miss this week as well. So Green-Beckham could be a sneaky play, but he plays Carolina. The other thing is the coach changed there. Mm-hmm. And so if Wisenhunt was easing Green-Beckham along or had some problem with Green-Beckham getting snaps, maybe at this point they're realizing, hey, you drafted this guy pretty high. You need talent on offense. Let's use him.
Well, the new coach came out and said right away that Dorial Green-Beckham needs to become better as a run blocker. And he said that, and then he kept him on the field a lot and used him. So it says to me that he's in the mind of the coaching staff. If Kendall Wright misses the game, I like Dorial Green-Beckham, but the matchup is definitely no good.
Do you like him more or less than Devin Funchess?
Way more.
Okay, because Funchess, he had a good game, first good game, scored a touchdown. I think he had 70 yards. So you don't think Funchess has more of an opportunity because of the offense and the fact they don't have passing weapons?
He might, but I mean, we're this far in the season, and he only played 26.5% of the snaps.
Yeah,
I mean that's not a number. That number's actually come down since the beginning of the season. And while we don't like the weapons in Carolina, they're okay. I mean, Ted Ginn is here and there, and Philly Brown. I don't see Funchess surpassing those guys. And Green-Beckham is actually very interesting to me because of the coaching change. Let's see, because you don't have Ken Wisenhunt and his ridiculous holding rookies down. Put a guy out there. You drafted him really high. Let's see what he can do. Your season is probably gone. So let's build some chemistry between your rookie quarterback and your future, which is Green-Beckham. And he was in for about 67% of the snaps last week. That's going up. Now, he's still behind Justin Hunter, which, we'll see if he can surpass him. But I like Green-Beckham a lot as a stash to close the season.
For people that, it's been a long time since the draft season, since the NFL draft season. If you aren't personally familiar with Dorial Green-Beckham, he is a beast. He was one of the guys that a lot of the DraftNet community said, this guy maybe should be the number 1 wide receiver. He's just too raw, but he's like a Calvin Johnson. He's 6'5", 237 pounds. He is a physical freak, and coming out of high school, he was the number 1 highest rated football player in the nation. Okay, so this isn't just some guy that's like, oh, he's got an opportunity because Kendall writes down. Yes, that's true, but in addition, he is a physical freak that could perform in the NFL on a high level. So
he also, he led the team in targets last week.
That's what you want.
10 targets. So a very good sign for Green-Beckham. Put these 4 in order for our listeners: Nate Washington, Marvin Jones, Dorial Green-Beckham, and Funchess. If they're all sitting there on a waiver wire, put them in order.
Marvin Jones
would be my first. DGB would be my second.
I agree.
Then Nasty Nate
and
Funchess.
Yep. That's how
I agree too. So
I would do it.
Running backs. Let's talk running backs, guys. Right now, if James Starks is out there, you have to have him on your roster.
Yes.
I'd like to believe he's signed in most leagues, but he's not. I've talked to some people and talked about their leagues. That's the first waiver claim. But he was 6 for 83 for a touchdown through the air, 10 for 39 on the ground. And we really don't know what in the world is going on with Lacey. A report came out again saying, hey, we really got to get Lacey going. Well, duh. Tell us something we don't know. Fantasy world. It's killing people, especially this past week. So Starks is that kind of number 1 above the rest guy. So tell me some other guys that you are looking for on the waiver wire.
Well, James White, like we talked about at the top of the show, he's one of my I'm going to add him. I'm not blowing out my budget or things like that to get him, but I really want to speculative add him to my roster. And Karlos Williams, we talked about Shady McCoy may or may not play, but Karlos Williams is very solid. He was 9 for 110 and 2 touchdowns. He had a touchdown before Shady McCoy went down with the shoulder injury, and then after that, he exploded. So if Williams gets the opportunity, I think he can produce. Unfortunately, it's the Jets Thursday night, but I still would believe that Karlos Williams would be a solid running back to play this week.
Yeah, Karlos Williams is a great add. I definitely think if he was on waivers in any league that I'm in, which I've checked he's not, I would be putting a claim on him. I'll give you 2 guys that I'm looking for in some of my leagues. So you got Joik Bell, but that I actually
gross.
I know it's gross to say, it's a punchline, but the truth is he looks like he is the first in line, the starter on a team that wants to run the ball more. Now, of course, they're a bad team, so they're not always going to be in the games. I'm not sitting here saying that Joik Bell is going to be a great RB1 or even an RB2 from a fantasy perspective, but he is going to be the RB1 on that team. They are going to try to run the ball more, and he's had success in the past. So he's a guy that you don't need an injury like Karlos Williams. He's just the guy, and he's probably on waivers. And then another guy that I'm adding, not to kind of a different situation, is Jay Ajayi. Now, I've got Lamar Miller, so if you have Lamar Miller, I definitely think you have to go to waivers and add him because
very much a Forte Langford situation.
Yeah, he looked great running the ball. They cut this morning Jonas Gray.
Yep.
So that says, hey, Jay Ajayi in college was unfathomably good statistically and fell to the 5th round, got drafted by the Dolphins.
Just because of injury concerns.
Right.
Knee concerns, yeah.
So he's a great runner. He's a great backup there, and he's a fantastic handcuff. The cutting of Jonas Gray to me says we found our number 2 guy.
And the last name I'm going to throw out is if Latavius Murray is out this weekend and you are desperate and you're looking for a running back situation, I would grab Marcel Reese. He's been a solid fill-in guy. Now, Tywan Jones is probably still the number 2, but Marcel Reese, I imagine, is going to handle all the passing work, and he's been a success story for fantasy when he's had to fill in like this for the Raiders before.
I completely agree with you. He would be the guy in on 3rd down every single time, probably, and he's going to have the reliability of just kind of catching a few passes at least. If you rolled Jones in there, you'd be hoping for a home run, and I wouldn't do it. So it's tough when you have a guy go out and then you have multiple choices behind them. Those are the hardest ones to pick. So, but Reese has been the guy before. All right, from the tight end perspective, if you had to grab a guy this week, Mike, who would you grab?
Sefarian-Jenkins. It sounds like he's going to be back finally this week. He takes on Dallas, and there's not a whole lot to go on.
I thought you might have a league where you get like points for guys that are supposed to play this week and then get sat down.
Yeah, I have a couple of those.
Christine Michael is hot.
He's the top. He's always the top guy.
The top pick every week.
Sefarian-Jenkins, week 1 was a big part of the game plan. Vincent Jackson's status is still unknown. So if it's Mike Evans and Sefarian-Jenkins, I feel confident in Jenkins.
And we know that Austin Sefarian-Jenkins can catch the ball as well as Mike Evans. That's a guarantee. So
did we even get into the Mike Evans ridiculous? Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Okay.
I shared it, I think, just from my personal Twitter.
Dropping
So
it like
good.
it's hot. Like it was actually on fire.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron's a guy that you can probably start this week. He's been pretty good this year. And then Crockett Gilmore's a guy whose targets might go up because of the absence of Steve Smith, so pay attention to him. Give me some defenses that you're okay with this week.
I like the Steelers against the Browns. The Eagles, like we had talked about last week, why we were mentioning them so highly is because they have a string of decent matchups. So the Eagles versus the Dolphins, and of course the Bengals versus the Texans. The Bengals are probably not available, but those are 3 that stand out to me.
Makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and spend some time talking about streaming quarterback options.
Full stream ahead.
All righty, Jason had Derek Carr last week, and it was mighty fine. Mighty fine indeed. I'll be honest, when you guys got to our show, Doc, before I did, both of your guys, I thought I might just say, forget it, I'm just jumping on with one of them because I'm not super confident in mine. So I'm going to have that disclaimer out there. But you guys, I like both of your options a ton. So let's go ahead and start with Mike.
Oh, I thought you were going through last week's. But so this week, I'm setting my phasers to kill. I've upgraded from stun, going with Captain Kirk Cousins at home against the New Orleans Saints.
And that defense?
I know. It's pretty rough. They've given up 10 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
And 300 yards the last 5 weeks, and that's I fudged Matt Ryan from 295 to 300.
Pretty much, yeah.
So 300 the last 5 weeks, and Kirk Cousins has actually been okay. If you look at his stat line from last week, it looks pretty bad, but that's not including 7 drops.
Ouch.
7. We got to get it together in Washington with the pass catching. So I like Kirk Cousins a lot this week. I will probably be streaming him in a couple of my leagues.
I don't see why not. One other thing about Washington that lends itself to this game is New Orleans' offense has been playing well, so it should be a higher scoring game.
Yes.
And they cannot, maybe against New Orleans, but they can't run the ball at all. Washington cannot run the ball. Matt Jones fumbled away his opportunities last week, and he has been, his 2-touchdown game at the beginning of the year is the biggest outlier that we've seen this season because people jumped on board. Oh, my good. No. And then Alfred Morris is I don't know.
Remember when Alfred Morris was a hot fantasy commodity?
He is like a car
that stinks
with
man.
3 flat tires.
I really hope
he just does nothing.
I hope that Morris goes somewhere and gets a chance next year.
No,
I don't think
happen.
it's going to happen. I remember preseason saying that Alfred Morris looked slow to me and looked different. I felt really stupid week 1 when he came out and did great, but then the rest of the season he's kind
a
of
goal.
looked.
He might be a goal line back.
Yeah, I agree. So the guy that I'm going with, we've talked about a little bit at the beginning of the show in the Allen twins of Allen Robinson and Allen Hearns, but it is Mr. BB, Blake Bortles. So Blake Bortles just went to the New York Jets. He was in New York on their top-rated pass defense and threw for...
Not anymore.
Yeah, not really.
Well, sure.
It was.
It was. Now they're not because he threw for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's been doing that all season long. He's, I think he's got to be averaging near 302 a game. And this week he's going to Baltimore, who is the 31st defense against the quarterback from a fantasy perspective. They have been giving up well more than 300 and probably averaging about 3 touchdowns a game. So I think this is a great stream. He's available in the majority of leagues. Pick him up.
That's the
start
thing.
him.
When I saw Blake Bortles was your stream of the week, all I thought was, like, cheater. Like, how in the world is Blake Bortles available in 49% of leagues or whatever it is still?
Yeah.
And it's because his name's Blake Bortles.
And he's not winning games. I mean, if I'm a Jaguars fan, I guess I'm happy
I'd be
with,
very excited.
I'm happy with his improvement this year, but he's not the best NFL quarterback.
Who is owned more? I'm checking this right now. Blake Bortles or Matt Stafford?
Stafford is way more, I believe.
No.
So in ESPN, Stafford as of right now is owned in 59.4, and that's
Okay.
that's including a bye. People were holding Matt Stafford
Through
over the bye. Hold on, I gotta change my settings
It's
here.
probably 51 or something.
And Bortles is 55%.
That is
What is going on?
This is why people who listen to our show win their leagues.
exactly
100%.
because
you hear 5 weeks ago which guy to own from those, and people still don't know.
Let's take it up a notch with Peyton Manning.
Oh,
Peyton Manning is owned in 94% of leagues.
He is ruining people's fantasy franchises.
hey, the last place team in our league is the Peyton Manning owner
There you go.
because
How do you not start him? Right? He's Peyton Manning.
he's Peyton Manning.
This is, I think, the 7th week in a row we have said this. Package Peyton Manning with another player on your team and trade him away.
And you'll be able to because 95% of the world still wants him.
Exactly.
All right, my stream of the week, I'm going to go with the same guy I went with last week, which is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because he's got the Thursday night game. Yes, he's got the hand injury. But here's the 3 pieces. 1, Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, they're good.
Number 2, they cannot run the ball right now. 3 weeks in a row, they can't really run the ball. They can run it on the goal line, but even with the 2 Ivory touchdowns on the goal line last week, Fitzpatrick put up 25 fantasy points in our 6-point league, and that's over 17 in a regular league. And Buffalo's middle of the pack when it comes to defending the pass, and it's in New York. So I'm going to just go with him. If you want a 4th guy at the bottom of the barrel that's sitting out there, Sam Bradford's got an okay matchup.
Sammy Biscuits.
Did you see what Rex Ryan did for this coming week?
Oh, no. I've been waiting for it, though. So tell me.
He made a new temporary 1-week captain on the team. He promoted one of the players to captain. Any guesses?
Hold on. Who did he promote to the captain?
It's not Percy Harvin.
It might or might not have been the man who broke Geno Smith's jaw.
No, he
that
did
they
not.
signed.
Rex Ryan.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, come on. It's so ridiculous. I like Rex Ryan just from an entertainment standpoint. I mean,
He made him an honorary captain.
He's an
for the
honorary
week?
captain this week. I mean, ridiculous.
What's funny about
Going
this
back to New York
that's
on Thursday night.
that's classic Rex Ryan.
Because
That hurts the Bills' chances of winning.
exactly. If Geno was in, you would have a better chance of beating the Jets. So foolish.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Rex Ryan.
Yeah, well.
Never leave the NFL, Rex. Never. Go from team to team, please.
And then we got to get him in the booth.
yes.
Yeah.
We got to get Rex
Yeah.
Ryan in the booth.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a perfect way to end today's show with Rex and his ridiculousness. So looking forward to that game, though. It'll be interesting with Rex and his team. When he needs his team to play well, they kind of play well for him. I mean, that's been the history for Rex Ryan. Whether you go back to how they played at the very end of the year last year, when he was the lame duck going out and he had a big game and they played great for him, or now a rivalry game going back to New York City.
New York City.
So,
And how is it's only been a half a season. That's fine. I'll admit that. Small sample size. How is Rex Ryan this quarterback evaluator who's like, we should pick up Tyrod Taylor? And how do the rest of the league not understand that Tyrod Taylor can throw the ball?
well, the rest of the league hasn't had to stare at Matt Castle and name escaping me, EJ Manuel for as long as Rex did. So his eyes had been turned outward before everybody else.
I just think that's madness.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you for listening to today's show. We will be back tomorrow answering listener questions. We got some more fun stuff in store. So As always, we'll be back on Wednesday. Thank you very much for listening. Check out jointhefoot.com.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFBallers.
Oh, man. I could have. There was so many guys.